Exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station. Home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Tiki Live, Amazon Music, Rumble, JioSaavn, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words, no Kanye talk on this show. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. Why not 100% of the time? If you're happy 100% of the time, you're dead. I don't want dead people walking. I want you most of the time happy so you can make the most out of this amazing thing called life. And I've been so delighted to bring you a name brand guest for the last, just celebrated on Monday, 11 years on the air, on camera. And I get a little bit of love for that. And it does seem like it was yesterday, and I must be having fun. So to celebrate this momentous occasion this week, I am bringing on a repeat guest. This is his third time in studio. I am an absolute huge fan of his. One of the best things about this show is I get to meet super interesting people whose names are very recognizable. John Gray is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. Dr. Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a bestseller. He's appeared repeatedly on Oprah, my honorable moniker, and 3 times on Asian Oprah. So there you go, as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and many others. He's been profiled in Times, Forbes, US Today, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. I'm going to have to watch that one. John Gray lives in Northern California, where for 34 years, he happily shared his life with his beautiful wife, Bonnie, until her passing in 2018. They have 3 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren. He's an avid follower of his own health and relationship advice. Please welcome back to my studio, Dr. John Gray. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you. Happy to be with you again.
I am so happy to have you. And we're going to start with breakfast. I asked if he would be willing to share a bite of my gratitude sandwich, and he fortunately said absolutely. So we're going to start with 8 specific things that you are grateful for outside of yourself. Dr. Wayne Dyer, one of my teachers on the other side, said 5 every morning. I'm an overachiever. And I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. It's a homophone for good fortune. So that's why we do 8. I'll start off. I am grateful to have you back in the studio.
Well, I'm grateful we met again and I can be on your show again and talking to everybody.
Wonderful. That's 2. I'm grateful for a gym downstairs that I can roll out of bed and just do it, a gospel according to Nike, without thinking about whether I should work out or not.
Well, I'm grateful because one of my daughters just had a baby. She's 3 months old and she's healthy and beautiful.
Aw, I'm grateful that I have 2 daughters who are beautiful inside and out, living up in San Francisco, flying me up for Mother's Day and treating me.
I'm grateful to where I live, where there's lots of sunshine and beautiful gardens around me.
I'm grateful that I get to look at the ocean of abundance in the morning.
And I'm grateful to my new wife, who I love very deeply as I move on in my life, but always carrying the 34 years of my marriage with Bonnie. She has made me who I am.
Oh. And now we're going to go to the bottom of the bun, which is the fundamental, my BS, my belief system is good mental health starts with self-love, self-care, self-approval. And we're a generation that maybe has forgotten that because we're always looking for likes. Literally, we're always looking for numbers or who likes me, who approves me. But the most important thing is to have you approve of yourself in my book. So I like to highlight that, have you work that muscle in the morning. You all know the drill. Here we go. I appreciate that I have no fear. And I kind of step, most of the time it's good. Sometimes I step in it, but I love that I can just jump into things.
I appreciate that I'm confident, capable, and always motivated.
Ooh, there's 3 right there. And I'll just finish off. I appreciate that I love to laugh, and it's my favorite sound on the planet, that I forgive myself most of the time, and that I have a good sense of fashion. So there we go. That's 8. I'm practicing with Dr. John Gray, so you can do that before you go to bed tonight, so that you'll wake up and sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thank you so much for joining us.
I thought I was going to get more.
You want
every morning, every night, I forgive all the people that I have unknowingly hurt or knowingly hurt. And I ask for their forgiveness for the ways they've hurt me knowingly or unknowingly, and wish them love and to forgive and forget.
Oh, wow. No, I said it was done because you said confident. You said 3. That's why I said, but I've never had anybody want more, which is great.
I love myself a lot.
I love it. Dr. John Gray here, reminding us what's most important, that forgiveness piece. And
gratitude and forgiveness, so very important.
Gratitude and forgiveness, the GF brand. Here we go. Thank you so much for joining us for breakfast. And as you can see, it's so wonderful. If you've just tuned in, I know some people are just getting the alert. If you free subscribe on my YouTube channel, you'll get to watch the show instead of just listen to it on the radio. This is thanks to technology. And I am here this morning with Dr. John Gray. And I read your bio, but I love doing this little less formal introduction. I don't have a question. I don't have an answering machine. I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, "Who are you? And what do you want?" So, John Gray, who are you and what do you want?
Well, I'm a grandfather now, and I want to continue sharing this message of love and understanding to make the world a better place. Today, we're hugely challenged in our marriages, our lack of marriages. And I've seen repeatedly for thousands, millions actually, because I've taught around the world for 50 years, the massive benefits and improvements in relationships when men and women can understand and appreciate their differences. Appreciation of differences is so important, but it takes understanding that we're not the same. Otherwise, we're expecting people to love the same way we do, and to correctly interpret their behaviors, when most of the time, whenever there's conflict, we're misinterpreting each other. And that just creates frustration and eliminates the happiness in our heart and the love that we felt in the beginning.
What's the one thing that women do or think that takes away from happy relationships? What's the one thing?
Expectations, unrealistic expectations. And there's simple reasons for that. In the beginning of a relationship, when there's a sexual attraction, particularly, there's high dopamine levels. Dopamine is the motivation hormone, and particularly in men. So men are naturally, automatically, without thinking, motivated to do things for her. And she, on the other hand, when there's high dopamine, things make her happy. It seems like she's happy all the time, and it doesn't take much to make her happy. So men have this unrealistic expectation that women are always going to be happy and you don't have to do much, because dating is not really doing much. It's doing a lot of little things, as opposed to marriage as doing big stuff. So men think, I'm doing the big stuff. Why do I have to do the little stuff? And when he stops doing that little stuff, that's very important for her to feel an ongoing sense of reassurance and connection that she's special and she's number one.
So an example of that you gave on stage at Secret Knock, a peace in, peace out, shout out to Greg, our mutual friend who just brings amazing people on stage, including you and me. I've been on his stage too. And you said there that if you're in bed with your significant other or insignificant other, and you just in the midst of the lovemaking, just look in her eyes and say, "You're so beautiful. You are. I'm so fortunate to be with you, and you're gorgeous." Those are the little things that maybe you don't think about doing when you're, into your regular achieving orgasm process.
That's such a great realization. I've read so many books on sex. I've been teaching about sex for about 40 years, and enlightened sexuality. And gradually I began to understand that it's all about the energy exchange. And one of the ways that energy is exchanged is through words. And words are very, very important. And often in sexuality, the energy goes down south as opposed to staying in your heart and in your mind. And so the idea is to keep all of you in the process and to express the love you feel. To a further extent, I really have a great sex life, always have, because back in the beginning, because I was a monk, the reason I started having sex after leaving being a monk for 9 years was I was full of love. And I realized that when I had sex, I felt even more love. So the purpose of sex, if we're not just having animalistic sex, or we're not just wanting to make babies, with nothing wrong with that, people want to live in their animal body or making babies, is use sex as a way to feel more love. And you feel more love when you express more love. That's why we have this whole invention of therapy and so forth, is when you express what you feel more. So when you feel the love, rather than go after the pleasure is just there because nobody resists pleasure. So when you have no resistance to your partner, you can connect with the love in your heart. But it's important to express that love in different ways for men and women, because you share just one part of it, half part of it. It takes two to make it happen. For the man, it's to create a sense of safety and specialness and love for the woman, saying things what are true for you. And sometimes it's good to even write these things out, men, so you can remember them, to say them in sex. It's not that it's not there. It's just that we may not be aware of the words to express. We feel the love. So I love being with you. I'm so happy you're my partner. And if you're married, you're the only one for me. I'm going to love you for a lifetime. Okay, all those kind of phrases. And you're such a great mother to our children, whatever you feel in your heart. But it's good to practice separately, to just know what you feel about your partner and put it into words. But the other side of it is the feminine energy that receives that compliment. It's not so much her telling him how much she loves him. It's her sending the message of what she needs from him. Because when a woman reveals what she needs, she's being most vulnerable. And that's the whole act of sex, which is, as women become more vulnerable, then men can penetrate them and women can appreciate that penetration. So not just you open your body and you become naked, but you open your feelings to him and become naked. And what are those feelings that are inside of every woman that often she doesn't reveal? Is the need for love. I mean, this morning you put on your makeup, you put on your outfit, you want everybody to think you're beautiful and you're radiant. You want to be seen, you want to be heard. We have this need to be loved. And that's a very important aspect of our female side, which needs to be amplified during making love. So for her to say, do you love me? And for him to say, I love you so much. And she said, how much? With all my heart. And tell me more, she can say. And do you really, really love me? See, it's opening the need to receive what he has and for him to then provide that need. And what we've done is taken the more traditional male female energies that used to be very helpful, where women were dependent on men and men were dependent on women to make babies, provide a home. He would work hard to provide for her. Well, women can do that for themselves today. So how do we connect? Well, the reality is, as soon as women are more independent, they have a hard time getting back to their feminine side, okay? The part of them that can feel a lot of love. And you feel a lot of love only when, let me just put this down, between in an equal relationship, when the female feels, I need what this man offers me. So if you don't need what the man offers you, why is he going to be motivated to be with you? Because men are motivated when they feel there's a job for me to do. And then he feels motivated to do it. Otherwise, they lose motivation, which is, again, that mistake that women make, we talked about in the beginning, is that they assume that that man in the beginning who's so motivated will stay motivated. No, the brain chemical of dopamine, because of the novelness of the relationship or the newness, stimulates like a free drug, but only for a few months or a few years. That's going to wear off as routine sets in. It's no longer that novel. It's the same naked body, you know. It doesn't have that spark automatically. But what then can sustain that motivation inside of men, as women learn, they turn men on. It's their vulnerability. It's their ability to receive what he has to offer and enjoy him, appreciate him, acknowledge him, depend on him, trust him. But what do you depend him on? He creates safety for you to open up and reveal these very delicate feelings of, I need love. I need you to love me. And it's not that men don't need love, but men particularly feel love when they're successful in giving love. Everybody knows if a man's on stage and he's performing and everybody claps for him, he bows, okay? That's how men surrender. The more you pour love onto a man, the more humble he becomes, ironically. The arrogant male who can't love is the male who feels insecure inside, because along the way, he hasn't gotten the love he needed. So that's the reality of our relationships today, is they can fill those holes inside of us from empty childhoods and wounds and the past, and also just keep fueling us as men to become better and better.
Wow. There's so much. There was at least 4 mic drops in there. And as soon as I went to write one down, you said something else. So one thing that lit up for me was the women. So the women today, not that I'm speaking on behalf of all the women today, but I know in my ageless generation of having the opportunity to become equal with men, equal job, equal pay, strong, independent, don't need a man to complete me, want to have a complementary. But the downside of that is I'm not willing, or I see me saying, please love me, as weak and like counter.
And not perfect. Love me, see me, hear me, see the goodness inside it.
But that's so, I hear you, but this is the reality of being so strong. And it's so funny. We were outside talking, and he said to me, I said, I haven't dated in 5 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, and an hour, but who's counting? And he said, that's because you're leading with your testosterone. And I'm like, I don't, and then he began to explain that to me. And this is a great example for me to say something like, how much do you love me? Even though I'm inside wondering, but it's so, it's so important for me not to feel like or express the need to need love. And that's my issue. And that's what I am working on, which the timing is perfect. I just started speed dating last Friday because I've never tried it before. And this is the first time I'm actually open to having a relationship. So you're my perfect coach.
Well, here's my basic. I have so much advice. I wrote a whole book, Mars Venus on dating. But one of the best ideas in that book is, when you're dating, don't date to find the right person. Date to find someone who loves you, likes you, more interested in you than you're interested in them. That's for women. Now, for men, it's different advice. But for women, your purpose in dating is, as you said, I want to learn how to be more feminine. I want to learn how to be more vulnerable. I want to open my heart up rather than be the tough side, the independent side, the confident, capable side. We call that your male side, which is because it produces more testosterone, and men need 10 times more testosterone than women. That's why we're different. Equality, it does not mean sameness. Equality, when you talk about equal, even respect, women deserve more respect, need more respect than men. Men need more appreciation. Women need more caring. Men need more trust. It's just, there's places that produce, when you're trusting me, depending on me, asking me for support, being vulnerable to me, what that does, it triggers testosterone in me. And that means I'm going to solve the problem. I'm going to be there for you, but I have to learn how to solve the right problem. Most of the time, women are talking about something, men interrupt with solutions, when really the problem she has at that moment is she wants to be heard, be seen, be validated, be reassured. All that is important. Men don't know that. Wife comes home and says, oh, I'm having this trouble. So-and-so said to me, you ought to tell them this and this, as opposed to saying, well, help me understand that better. Well, tell me more. What else? And if you haven't been initiated into these ideas of how men and women are different, you think you're doing nothing. No, I get paid a lot of money just to sit there and ask women questions, and they feel heard. That's the whole key to this thing. Men don't realize that. Old-fashioned women, when a woman complained, she needed a man to solve a problem. Let me fix it. There's a dragon outside. I'll go slay the dragon. But now she can slay that dragon herself, but she needs to come home and open up and talk about it to feel connection. Because when you see and hear and penetrate into a woman, her estrogen goes up. And that's different. You see, it's not just we should all hear each other. No, it's that men need to hear women more than women hear men. Because biologically, when somebody hears me, listens to my feelings, my vulnerability, they can listen to my solutions. That's different. That's me solving problems. But when they listen to my feelings, that's good for some time, but it produces more estrogen. And when men have too much estrogen, they're weak. They're pouting, they're irritable, they're unmotivated, they can't get it up, they lose interest, they want to cheat. All those things is because his testosterone goes down. For women, they don't need nearly as much testosterone for well-being and happiness in a relationship. What they need is 10 times more estrogen. And major estrogen producers, or let's say you're hungry and somebody feeds you, your estrogen goes way up. But you can take care of yourself now, women. But when you feel, I'm lonely, I feel insecure, I'm afraid, I need love. So you don't have to say all that, but basically just simply saying, do you love me? That's in there. It's the need for reassurance. For years, my wife Bonnie said, John, I just don't feel I need your reassurance. I had no idea what she was talking about. Now, look at what you said in the beginning. Everybody's looking at likes on their Facebooks. How many people, for me, how many people buy my books? I look for recognition. How much money do I have in my bank account? How many people am I reaching? How much am I getting paid for this? And I look at on a daily, not a daily basis, but I look at how many people are reading my books, for example, and that supports me feeling good. It makes a woman feel good because she needs testosterone, but it doesn't produce estrogen primarily. What produces estrogen primarily is personal relationships where you are open and you can depend on someone and they're there for you. I was just listening to a show on Netflix with Oprah interviewing the last First Lady.
Yes.
And she, the one before, Obama's wife.
Obama, yes.
Michelle. And she was talking over and over and over about the kitchen table. She's explaining that the only way a relationship worked for her is having her basic 12 good friends who she can talk to. So you're not totally dependent on your husband to listen to everything, because some things just aren't interesting to men. It doesn't mean we don't love you. It means we're not girls. It doesn't, if we're talking about engines and my new car, a lot of women will wander off, not all, but a lot of them wander off. And you're talking about wedding gowns. Guys are just going to go to sleep. There's certain things that stimulate male hormones, certain things that stimulate female hormones. And we as human beings have our own unique, like a snowflake is unique. Every single person has their unique genome. That's the genome, our genes. A unique genome, which has the ideal ratio. I'll call it the divine ratio for every person between the male side and the female side. And anytime you're unhappy, this is one way of understanding unhappiness. You have beautiful books on happiness, of course. But one of the ways to understand our unhappiness is when that divine genome of who we are, the true self, the ratio of our male side and female side is out of balance. And today, our whole country, as a general rule, is way out of balance. There's not enough female energy being expressed. The female genome is not expressing enough estrogen, and the male genome is not expressing enough testosterone. And so the ratio is off. And this is all simply, there's huge studies. Nobody makes these conclusions that I make because I'm a relationship expert. They're just statistics and looking at, certain health issues for women. Unhealthy women all have hormonal imbalance. Unhealthy men, you don't get heart attacks if you're a man unless you have low testosterone. It doesn't exist. It's high estrogen, low testosterone in a man that causes heart attacks. Well, they can't say that because nobody knows how to balance these hormones, and just taking hormones is not it's not always the answer. I'll put it that way. I know for sure with testosterone, it's not the answer. And when women are taking hormones, in some cases, it's extremely helpful, but there's also risks that go with it that we know. You've got to keep that balance going by having a really good doctor. What I teach you is relationship skills to stimulate in women through relationship more estrogen and the right balance with progesterone and testosterone. And men, these are all different hormones that we are born with the ideal divine ratio. We come into this world. Now, some of us come out of the womb even with a mixed up balance, simply because of what the mother has been eating prior to getting pregnant. That's enough to throw your hormones off. But you still have your divine genome, and you can find it again. It's there. We have something called an etheric body around us that is our divine genome. It tells the body, it gives information to the body of how to correct itself, how to heal itself. I mean, how do some people just suddenly have these miraculous healings? It's the genome is able to correct its errors because it pulls in the blueprint. The divine blueprint is around us all the time, but when our heart is not open, we're not forgiving, we're not feeling grateful, we disconnect from our divine sources. And so that genome can't self-correct itself. And also there's certain, we call them hormone disruptors that, drinking water out of plastic bottles, as simple as that sounds, is a huge hormone disruptor, inhibiting the self-correction of the genome. So we have the appropriate hormone expression. And when you have inappropriate hormone expression, let's say a woman's making more testosterone than her estrogen for her ratio, then what will happen is instead of thinking, I need to open up and depend on somebody for love, her brain just says, go more and more looking to achieve more. And then the symptom of that imbalance for women is feeling overwhelmed, too much to do, not enough time for me. And the funny thing, as a man, I would hear for years women say these things, is I got to find myself. I know myself all the time. And I'm rarely overwhelmed. I didn't even know what that word meant for a while, because the men have an off switch. All they have to do is something to build up their testosterone. And then they basically use logic, that's part of testosterone, and say, if there's nothing I can do about it, well, then forget it. And why do I expect myself to do more than I can do? Where women will take on more than they can do. And then they're never feeling enough. And so to have loving relationships, you have to find that divine ratio, the ideal ratio for you to come back to feeling this is enough. I don't have to do more in order to be loved.
Right. Well, that's definitely just for me. My divine ratio is so out of whack. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering who is in my studio, I'm just delighted to have my third time repeat guest, Dr. John Gray, mega best-selling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. But we are moving beyond now with his new book called Beyond Mars and Venus. And on a personal level, the last guy that I dated actually said, because I have so many things that I'm doing. He said, I don't mind being priority 2 or 3, but priority 10 is, it's not enough for me. And I don't blame him, because I wouldn't want to be priority 10 either. So let me get specific, because I get to use you as a coach here on my show. So you said just start dating with people that I don't think are a good match, which
They're
there
more,
are.
you're not looking for a good match. You're
Okay.
looking for somebody who wants you, more interested in you, wanting to please you more than you want to please him. As soon as you move into trying to please a man, you're already on your male side. You want
Ah.
a relationship where you're not trying to please the man, gives you a chance to change your programming because you're a people pleaser. You want to get out there and find the right guy. You're also a very confident person. So you're going to use strategies to get him as opposed to strategies for you to change who you are in your dating pattern where you're an overgiver. If you're an overgiver, you have to, if you're suddenly in a situation where you're more interested in somebody than you, that's fight or flight. That's danger. What if I don't succeed? You get with a man, you don't care whether you succeed. What do you care about is practicing new dating skills, one. Two, what you get out of is a good time, whatever that means for you. And when I suggest a good time does not imply having sex. A lot of women don't even want to date because they just don't want to get naked again with some guy they're not in love with. Okay. So you don't have to have sex with guys. You have to know, and you don't owe them if they take you on a date. And part of taking on a date is you allow him to do things for you, to plan it. You let him know 3 things you like to do, you pick. So you let him pick, you let him be in charge, you let him pay for the bill, he picks you up, all the good things letting a man do for you. And then you feel like, oh, I owe him something. No, you don't owe him anything except responding from a place of my day is happier because of you. See, that's the greatest gift a woman can give a man. It's not a doing for him, it's a responding to his doing. And you practice not over giving. You're over giver. I mean, you're just right in there and you just got to learn to let it go. And that's hard to do. It's programming. So you have to change your programming when you're not in a state of fight or flight. And state of fight or flight is I'm trying to please you. Well, why are you trying to please a man instead of letting him please you? It's because a part of you deep inside, not on the surface, you've handled that, deep inside is feeling that I have to prove my worth. Okay. And you don't have to prove your worth. You already deserve. That's why I say men and women are different. Everybody deserves to be loved, but the woman's issue is I have to, when she's out of balance, she says, I have to go earn something to be worthy of love. You have to be yourself to be worthy of love. And that's a
Wow.
not doing for him. Men, I won't feel loved unless I do something. Men who just sit around and do nothing and you love them, they just become weaker and weaker. Men have to earn. When men earn, testosterone goes up. And when testosterone goes up, then we're able to feel love. If you try to love a depressed man, he goes, yeah. Get out there, do something for someone, and then say thank you, and he'll let that love in. These are
Wow.
real biological differences. And when people don't understand them, it's happening in our society is that men are just falling down into their more passive, moody, lack of inspiration, addiction. All addiction is for men is men having too much estrogen, moving too much to the depending side, as opposed to, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of that. See, we're a balance. I've got a ratio. My female side needs to depend on things to be happy. My male side depends on me to be happy. And so women have to practice not being so much about me and more about what I need from somebody to do for me. And a simple idea on power, women want to be powered. Think about power for a second. I call it 2 kinds of power, the yin power, the feminine power, and the masculine power. We want a ratio of both, right? But what is masculine power? It's what we all think is power, which is the ability to get things done, to achieve goals, to produce, okay? So that's our male power. Look what I can do, okay? And you listed out all the shows you're on, you've been doing 11. That's your male power, and you should be proud of that, no doubt about it. Okay, look what I can do. Huge male power. But look who I am. Okay, that's your female power. And female power is I look how happy I am, look how fulfilled I am. And here's the real aspect of the power is because I'm full of love. Look what I can get other people to do for me. So male power is look what I can do for others. Female power is look what I can get other people to do for you, for me. How I can get them to do it. It's called delegating responsibility. It's like my female power is so great that I have millions and millions of people buying my books. Okay. That's my female power. I got that by being a monk, by the way. This is when you're in your spirit, and also my childhood, I was very connected to my mother. So there's a lot of connection. And then to find that balance between my female side, I then practiced celibacy for 9 years as a monk, doing long, intensive meditations, which produces huge amounts of testosterone. Some reports say that men can increase their testosterone 4 times by being celibate. And we have research even showing that if you enter marriage, for example, and you go for 7 days without having sex, or at least releasing your energy. I have sex every day, but I don't release my energy. But you can go for 7 days without releasing your energy, your testosterone level will go up between 50 to 100%, just doing that. And yet you're doing, all this porn and everything like that. Men's testosterone levels, you can see it in the scale every year. It's going down 1%, 1%. And every age group today, testosterone is going down 1%. Mine's been going up, up, up to where I'm on average 50% higher testosterone than I was when I was a young man. And now it's, it will go up to 400% when I'm making love. Then it will come back to my baseline, which is happy guy, motivated, so forth. But that's all about having love in your life. Here's a novel idea for everybody to take in. Everybody wants to have the passion, the excitement you felt in the beginning. Well, it's never going to be exactly the beginning because you're on a drug trip. Okay. The first time you touch fingers, there's like electricity goes into you. Well, why is that? Because you haven't yet connected. But once that electricity goes through you for a while, then it's there. You're not going anywhere. And all that electricity is that excitement, thrill. That's because you're producing abnormal amounts of dopamine. This dopamine, the motivating hormone, the excitement hormone. But once familiarity sets in, you don't make as much dopamine. You don't get free dopamine. And a lot of couples just lose the passion. Well, that's because they don't understand the communication skills that don't necessarily produce more dopamine, but they produce more testosterone. Because the benefit of that dopamine is that it raises a man's testosterone and raises a woman's estrogen. That's why we feel so good. Our hormones start to go into balance when there's newness. And so what we can do is the newness will go away. We can always go on little getaways and so forth. That helps to stimulate the right ratio of hormones for people. But you can have communication skills that will produce those hormones without the newness. And nobody's ever written about this, talked about it. I mastered it in my marriage of 32 years. I know what I'm talking about. I help couples do this because everybody wants it, but nobody can have it. So we have this expectation that it should be free, that it should be automatic. And so then we get disappointed. And then we feel that we're not in love with each other because we don't have these new skills where men are primarily listeners and penetrators and women are primarily openers and letting him come in and responding to his penetration, which is what you.
I love the way you use penetration, by the way. If you've just tuned in, you are listening to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah. And we have in studio for my third visit. I'm so happy he's here, Dr. John Gray. I can barely get in here to stop for a station ID because I don't want to stop the nuggets, but I do want to just give a shout out to some people who have been commenting. You can do free subscribe on my YouTube channel to get an alert so you can come and participate. Andre Davis Jr., Sex, Sacred Energy Exchange, love being the sacred energy. Thank you for the wisdom. He liked your nugget when the more you love on a man, the more humble and loved he feels. Great gem. Kathy Obaro, Dr. John Gray in the house. Thanks for sharing to me, and so happy that you are all here joining us. Now let's go back to sex. And you have sex every day, and you said you don't release every day to improve your testosterone level. I'm gathering that there's health benefits. You had mentioned that low testosterone, heart attacks, things like that. I do want to, I've been promising them that you would talk about iron penis. So what is that all about?
I usually only talk about that in intimate settings. I'm happy to talk about it since you brought it up. First, it's a humorous story, okay? But I was doing one conference on biohacking in England, and I happened to be having breakfast with three of the world's greatest, what are they called? Iron men, they run and they do all this endurance stuff, and nobody does that, right? Only a few people can really do that stuff, and they work hard at that and so forth. And so we're going around talking, and they said, "Well, John, what are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm the iron penis." And you could see it was very funny because they're all taking steroids, and when you take steroids, you can't get an erection. So it was kind of embarrassing for them because their wives were there as well. Uh, and so anyway, the then I gave a whole talk that day. I thought it was so funny saying iron penis. But the iron penis means that as a man, because in sex you've learned to be multi-orgasmic. See, it's the animal, when they become a lot of pleasure, it builds up and attention builds up because there's not love, there's not intimacy. When a man's energy builds up, the sacred energy, as somebody was saying, and the woman is able to receive that, but she can't receive it unless he knows how to make love. And as long as, and they have to love each other from outside the relationship. So the love allows her to open up, and then his energy can flow into her, and her response energy flows back to him, and that keeps the tension from building. So the tension never builds needing a total release. It comes in waves of orgasmic pleasure. It starts with it starts with just sort of pleasure and beginning to express the loving things that's coming into your heart. And then as it starts to come up into your head, it starts becoming very animalistic and loving. That's where the spirit is coming into the primitive brain, but you're still loving. And then it becomes very divine union where you feel the angels coming around you. I mean, this is
that's the orgasm,
that's
right?
Not the orgasm. There's already been many orgasms before that, but a man has to learn the art of not letting his arousal go to the point where the tension is so strong that it has to release. He has to notice when it's moving in that direction and then move his body as if he was having a physical orgasm. It's a spasm. All it is, it's a spasm, a short circuiting in the body. So you spasm as soon as you go a little too high, and then you're starting again going higher. And what's happening is you're helping your body absorb more of this sacred energy. Because if we could absorb it all, we'd be feeling that all the time, but we can't absorb it. So we sort of sabotage, we throw it away. Couples have this love and then they fight and argue. But this is a way of learning to preserve and build. And it's what's called making love, because the love is there. And when we're stressed, you sort of lose touch with all that. You come back together and you join. But the iron penis happens when a man never ejaculates or rarely ejaculates. Occasionally, I don't get my rhythm perfect, or if she's stressed out or whatever, and my energy needs to release, then it takes me a few days to recover to start it again. But generally speaking, every day, and on weekends, maybe for hours, if we've been apart, I'm on my way to Poland. If I come back, I've been gone for 5 days. I mean, we'll spend 2 days in bed just to reconnect all that energy and let it build up, because you can't experience that kind of a buildup with strangers and other people, friends. It's different. This is intimacy. This is where you share the deepest, darkest places inside of you in a way that's mutually supportive, and then celebrate it through making love.
Beautiful. So advice to me, I'm getting back in the saddle. Is it possible, are my expectations out of whack, that I can have someone who does see me in that the imbalance of who I am, and respects what I have done and what I do, and also has the similar, so I can respect him and put him on that pedestal by saying, wow, look at what you've done, and that kind of connection? Or is that just not possible because we're both too testosterone?
No, I think it's possible, but only as you learn. It's a cliche, but I'm going to explain it a little deeper than just a cliche. You have to love your female side, Marissa. You respect and admire your male side. Okay, nothing wrong with that. This is the plight of the woman today. But to get to her male side, she doesn't get the respect. Her female side is not getting it in the world. So she seeks to earn respect, because we have a lopsided world which only respects money and success. Okay, everybody. When somebody comes in who's a billionaire, everybody's like, what has he got to say? He must be something. Okay. Money talks. Okay. And fame talks. When I talk somewhere, everybody stops talking. And I'm at a party. Suddenly everybody wants to listen to what I have to say, only because I'm famous. Okay. So that talks, that gets respect. And so what leaves that, and that's all masculine energy. What gets missing is female energy is not getting the respect it deserves. And it can only start as women start respecting themselves, and through their friends, at least you can begin opening up yourself, the part of you that isn't so successful, competent, capable, the part of you that's insecure, that's disappointed, has hurts, has feelings, and finds forgiveness and expresses gratitude. This is a vulnerability. That's why you love gratitude so much. Oprah, who is not that vulnerable, okay, in reality, she's got walls around her because everybody wants something from her, pulling on her. She's got to protect herself. What she said in that interview I just saw, she only has one friend. Okay. And that's Gail. Gail knows the real story of what's behind the mask of Oprah. Because, everybody's pulling on you. And you say one thing wrong, everybody's going to attack you. And she's doing this interview and Obama's wife, I keep forgetting her name, but Obama's wife, Michelle is, putting it all out there. And Oprah's like amazed. How can you say that? It's like one of the things Michelle said that Oprah was really amazed at is Michelle said, probably out of our 30-year marriage, I've hated him for 10 years. Okay. So that's revealing. See, that's one aspect of vulnerability is that now people can go, oh, see, she's not a good person. Okay. That's what we're all afraid of, is to reveal our imperfections, our disappointments, our losses. I've made millions of dollars. I've sold over 50 million books, maybe 80 million at this point. I only know because of the money that comes in from all around the world. But I've lost so much money in stupid business deals. I mean, millions and billions, highly embarrassing, feeling ashamed that, this blessing has come to me. But I was too busy helping people and writing books and doing this thing to do due diligence. So that's being vulnerable. See, people could say, well, I'm not going to invest in you. You don't know how to invest. And I agree. I don't, people ask me for financial advice. I said, I'm the wrong person. How to be yourself. I'm the right person. Okay. And I have to find forgiveness to keep producing. So it's about revealing that vulnerable side. And while men can be vulnerable, as I was just being a bit vulnerable, I'm not coming from a place of insecurity when I'm doing it. The real vulnerability, the feminine vulnerability, is actually feeling this is not something I want to share with anybody, but I'll share it with you. And this thing, see how good that felt? It's like being naked. This is something I'll reveal with you and nobody else. But the key thing now, we're evolved just the physical realm. We're in the spiritual realm of connecting with the higher self. We need to become more emotionally vulnerable to let the love penetrate in. And that can only happen. A man can't go in unless you open up. So start with your girlfriends, start with journaling. I know you're a good journaler. It's what Oprah used to do every day. She still does it. She writes out all her gratitudes because gratitude is an expression of vulnerable. Because what it's saying is I'm grateful, which means implied, I need this and I have this. I need this and I have this. It's always reminding ourselves of what we need. That's vulnerable. For a man, power, the male power, is being aware of what you want and being motivated. So one is our male side, testosterone production, and estrogen, more the female hormones, is being aware of what I need. Because I remember when I was homeless after being a monk. It was horrible living on the beaches, cold, dangerous, with a bunch of crazy people. And a friend of mine gave me $50. And back then that's worth $500. He said, John, you look hungry. I went, oh, I'm okay. And he said, well, here's $50. He's a friend for life. This 50 years ago, that's 40 years ago. We go to the movies all the time still. He bonded with me. That's what happens when you have high estrogen. When you feel I have a real need and somebody's there for me and away from my female side, you bond. And that's why I also recommend women not to have sex right away with men that don't love you. You don't have to. I know, because what's going to happen is when you do stimulate yourself, or he's stimulating you, hopefully, your estrogen will go high, you will bond, and then you'll crash when he's not interested in you because you bonded so much. So go slow. Don't hurt yourself by having sex right away. Don't hurt him by rejecting him. So the secret there is all language. Master of communication. So what you say to him is, when he's trying to make the moves, you go, oh, I'd love to have sex with you. I just need to go slow. I can't wait till that happens, but I have to go slow. And he'll negotiate. Well, when? Oh, sometime. But I just know for me, it works. And you don't have to explain yourself anymore. You got to respect me. Okay. You only get respect when you respect yourself first. And that's a journey of learning to respect and honor without judgment the part of you that you don't love because you don't want to show it to anyone else. And some people will say, oh, I love myself. You don't fully love yourself and experience that until you can share that part of you with someone. And the beginning, it goes with yourself, then and God, and then it goes with your girlfriends because they'll relate more to it. And some will be competitive and use it against you. So you got to pick the right ones and get rid of the other ones because jealousies come up and whatever. between.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't have a lot of friends. I mean, you just nailed it. It's difficult for me to be vulnerable. Number one, because I know I learned when you're vulnerable, you get hurt. I don't want to even want to admit. I hate that expression. You hurt my feelings. It just drives me crazy because I think that that is a sign of, oh my God, really? And so when I have, even with friends, it's like ones that really want to be my friend or guys that really want to have me, I have this automatic, what do you want from me? Or I don't like this, I don't like that, and I don't like that part of me. So I'm just better off alone. I'm better off, I do what I want, when I want, how I want. I love
Freedom,
my life,
freedom.
and I do love my life. But
Yes,
when you
yes.
say that I can't really express or get the most out of life if I'm not having a relationship, them's fighting words, Dr. John Gray.
You know,
But
I
in
think
my heart, I know you're right. I hate to admit
I
it.
think not everybody has to be in a marriage, in a committed marriage. Not everybody's going to be an Iron Man. It was, I was listening to who is it? Our Tesla guy, the Tesla guy, uh,
Oh, yeah,
billionaire
Elon Musk.
Elon
Not
Musk's
my
wife.
favorite person,
His
but
ex-wife did a TED talk about him, and it was interesting to listen to that. And she was saying he's a terrible husband, but he's a great genius. And he's trying to help so many people and trying to help the world. And so, I mean, so she could admire him and love him, but also recognize he's not a normal person. He's not fit for being in an intimate relationship for long. We'll put it that way. So I'm not saying everybody has to be the same, but I'm saying that most people, that we come from a culture which took thousands and thousands of years to build a culture that supported the ideal hormones in men and supported the ideal hormones in women. And we're going through transformation now where we can be more androgynous in a sense of I'm a man, but I'm also fully in touch with my female energies. I'm not a woman, but I have a female side and I'm able to evoke those emotions when appropriate, that part of me. But I'm always using that to support my masculinity. And for women, they have a male side. They can ask for what they want. They can assert boundaries. They can make a difference in the world as a result of their first having the world make a difference for them, loving and supporting them. And I have to correct myself on something I said earlier, because on one side, your male side is saying, hey, look at all the people watching my show. But another part of that, and this is where you should love yourself as well, is recognizing I do have support in my life. Look at all these people that support me. But it isn't 100% real until it's naked.
yeah, and that's why I've lost 35 pounds, because I did not like looking at myself naked. I still don't, but at least now I don't think people are going to run away screaming with their hair on fire. But that's been my project, to try to like the way I look naked. And we are almost out of time. I wanted to point out one,
Very
go
quickly,
get your book.
don't try to do that one. That's like advanced skills. Okay, put on something nice and love how you look. I've heard people actually when I did an Oprah show, people were saying cliches. Stand in the mirror and say, "I'm beautiful." Forget it. Don't do that. Put on something nice and say, "Look how good I look." And when you're getting into bed, turn the lights down and first start out with something soft and silky, and gradually let it peel off as the passion starts to increase, as the pleasure increases. Then love increases, and then a man loving you allows you to love yourself more. Don't do it. It's not a
Beautiful.
one person job.
Thank you. And we are out of time. I have been given permission to give one beautiful book from you for my Asian Oprah giveaway today. And so the first person to go to drmarissa.life and put in Dr. John Gray in the subject line will get that book. Thank you so much for joining me today. We could go another day, I'm sure, and we will have you back, because just wonderful, great personal advice for me. Thank you so much, Dr. John Gray, for sharing yourself and your wisdom. I do this at the end of the show. I think you remember it is all about balance. Peace in. Can you do this with me? Peace in, peace out, world peace through, inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.